One of the very first characters you encounter through your battles and quests for answers is Alfred, who is initially seen praying at this ominous structure. At first glance, it is unclear who the little shrine illuminated by candles is made out for, but panning up, you do see a monument of a figure whose head is obscured. This statue will become much more clear as we delve deeper into the storyline of Alfred and the clan of hunters known as the Executioners. It is impossible to talk about the Executioners without also talking about their rivals, known as the Vilebloods, who swear to Queen Annalise of the Cainhurst Castle. We will get more in depth on all this later, but for now, let's start from the beginning. When you first approach Alfred, he says this:
"You're a beast hunter, aren't you? I knew it. That's precisely how I started out."
He says he started out as a beast hunter like you, dying and waking in the hunter's dream. And just like you are at the end of the game, exiled from the dream to wake in Yharnam as a mortal. Some may say this is a contradiction to Gehrman when he mentions forgetting the dream, but I have renewed thoughts on the matter. Alfred, Jura, and Eileen all remember the dream. Perhaps when Gehrman said forget the dream, he meant it as putting it all behind you. You know, like forget about it.
Forget about it.
Sometimes it just means forget about it.
Oh, beg pardon. You may call me Alfred, protege of Master Logarius, hunter of Vilebloods.
The likely reason for being exiled is due to his ties to his master Logarius by shifting his prey to Vilebloods rather than beasts, similar to Jura and Eileen, who expressed they too were hunters like you who were likely exiled for targeting other hunters rather than fulfilling their duties. It seems the only way to get exiled is to deviate from the contract made clear to you at the beginning of the game, which says to stop the source of the plague. You were cured of the scourge and basically given immortality through a blood transfusion for this reason. Stray from the master plan and you'll wind up dying and never waking up.
So, what say you? Our prey might differ, but we are hunters, the both of us. Why not cooperate and discuss the things we've learned?
You can tell that Alfred is a mild-mannered man and quick to trust. Even if you refuse his offer to cooperate, he takes it very well.
Well, that's most unfortunate. But if you have a change of heart, you know where to come. We are, after all, fellow hunters, and tonight we hunt.
But there's no reason not to cooperate with the guy. In fact, like Solaire in Dark Souls, you need to cooperate to see his entire quest through.
Oh, changed our mind, have we? Then perhaps we can cooperate and discuss what we've learned.
Sure, you seem like a swell guy.
Oh, very good. Very good indeed. Take this to celebrate our acquaintance.
His character very much reminds me of Solaire. He even comes with his own catchphrase.
Beast hunting is a sacred practice. May the good blood guide your way.
May the good blood guide your way. I prefer praise the sun, but you know, it'll do. Good blood is in reference to the saints, who are groomed to be vessels for revitalizing blood. And in the same sense, it shows his disdain for Vilebloods, who have a very corrupted and bad bloodline.
There must be oodles for us to share. Go on. Just tell me what piques your interest.
There's plenty to talk with him about, but the first two dialogue choices really have nothing to do with his character. I say, we hear out his take on these subjects and compare it to what we do know as a good refresher course. Regarding the Healing Church, he says,
"As you know, the Healing Church is the fountainhead of blood healing. Well, I'm a simple hunter, quite unfamiliar with the ins and outs of the institution. But I have heard that the holy medium of blood healing is venerated in the main cathedral."
Ebrietas, daughter of the cosmos, is in a cavern below the main cathedral, and by some unknown means brought there from the great Is Chalice, then became the holy medium for the choir, whom are high-ranking members of the Healing Church, and continue the work that began with Master Willam by studying the arcane. It's possible some of the old blood is being harnessed from her as well. Considering Ebrietas doesn't attack you until provoked, it's very likely she is used to the constant visitation from the choir.
And that counselors of the old church reside in the high stratum of the cathedral ward.
The counselors he mentions are the choir. Above the cathedral ward, you come across the orphanage, and connected to that was a research hall that conducted inhumane experiments utilizing arcane, which is now trapped in a nightmare and likely abandoned in the world
Of the real.
But Alfred is merely going off of hearsay and doesn't know the darker side of it all. While the Healing Church had pure intentions when established, it now seems there is corruption in the high-ranking clergy being kept secret to the rest of the congregation and world.
If you seek blood healing, and the church is willing, You should pay them a visit.
As you may have noticed by now, most of the healing church is abandoned since the old blood started turning the congregation into beasts. So you don't encounter any healing church members still alive besides Sister Adela, and she'll happily give you blood healing. Some of the choir can be found, but they have their own sinister plans and aren't the friendliest people. So paying them a visit is easier said than done. When you ask him about Bergenworth, he tells you,
Bergenworth is an old place of learning, and the tomb of the gods, carved out below Yharnam, should be familiar to every hunter. Well, once a group of young Bergenworth scholars discovered a holy medium deep within the tomb. This led to the founding of the Healing Church and the establishment of blood healing. In this sense, everything sacred in Yharnam can be traced back to Bergenworth.
I'm going to deviate away from the specific plot for a while to completely detail the history of Bergenworth and the Healing Church. Even though Alfred is correct, he's very vague. Bergenworth was a college, and when tombs were discovered beneath Yharnam, they began their exploration and eventually uncovered this holy medium, which was likely a great old one. The old blood was discovered and brought back, but Master Willam became very averse to the use of this blood.
We are born of the blood, made men by the blood, undone by the blood.
And thought that harnessing the cosmic power, figuratively known as eyes, of the great old ones was a better alternative. Hence why I would assume the choir revere him so highly, as evident by the one cleric who is present in his observatory and attacks you in order to protect him. At that time, his student Lawrence, and possibly other students, shunned his ideas and felt he was losing touch, so Lawrence took his leave. Despite claiming to continue to live by the passage, fear the old blood,
Fear the old blood.
it is very evident he continued the research and use of the old blood and turned into a beast himself, later to be slain and decapitated. Soon thereafter, his head became the basis for the Healing Church, displayed prominently on an altar. Before the Old Hunter's expansion, many people saw his transformed head on the altar and thought, well, where's the body? And tried to reason it was the headless bloodletting beast in the labyrinths. I never entertained this notion because you fight the bloodletting beast earlier, with its head still attached. I don't know where this theory came about, as the Japanese translation doesn't prove anything other than that it's the biggest beast in the game, hence being called the Lord, Master, any other words expressing high authority of beast blood. Regardless, soon after Lawrence founded the Healing Church, he became the first cleric beast and died. But being the founder and the first vicar, his skull came to serve as a holy artifact that, when touched, will inscribe Willam's adage, not Lawrence's, upon you through a memory. That adage is, fear the old blood, an adage that's still used to gain access to Bergenworth, but also an adage that became very misconstrued in meaning to the Healing Church. The congregation of the church saw it as a cautionary rite to not overindulge in old blood, which is basically blood of their gods. They felt the consumption of their god's blood brought them closer and was used in their religious ceremonies.
Don't be greedy. As they say, fear the thirst for blood. I should know. I was once a blood saint too.
On the other hand, Willam meant the adage in the sense of, using their blood is thinking much too simply and will lead us to ruin. We are born with blood and that's what makes us men. That's something we already share with them. What we need to do is to tap into the unseen and overflow our brains with their wisdom. In doing so, we can transcend and be as great and as close as we'll ever be to them. Master Willam's character plot is very similar and possibly inspired by the real-life Nikola Tesla, who invented alternating current electricity and Tesla coils, to name a few of many inventions still in use today. Yet he isn't very well known due to being overshadowed by Thomas Edison, who invented light bulbs and a less effective direct current electricity, to name a few, which are also still being used today. But over time, Tesla started dreaming up outworldly ideas such as limitless energy, power without the constraint of cables through the very light of the sun, and became captivated. Similarly, Willam became obsessed with the cosmic power of the moon. Tesla was considered a genius who lost touch with reality, therefore losing all his investors, all his money, and then forced to live on welfare. In the last of his days, he was alone, looking to the skies and conjuring ideas he could not act upon, still insisting on the possibility of limitless energy and prophesying. Willam, even in his ripe old age, is just like Nikola Tesla, alone and looking to the skies, and still insisting that the real way to harness the power of the great old ones, whom are linked to the moon, is to not drink their blood and not not literally line your brain with eyes, as that's a figurative saying, but rather harness their powerful and cosmic insight so you won't have need for your physical eyes. Willam, among many other characters strewn all throughout the world, cover their eyes, for that very symbolic meaning. The notes strewn throughout Willam's mansion show he was definitely on the right track, and even notes from its scholars admit that he was right all along, suggesting they thought he was wrong at some point. Lawrence can be seen as Thomas Edison, who greatly opposed Willam's ideas and stubbornly stuck to his own. Like Tesla's adamant notion of limitless energy, Willam was stuck on the idea of transcending. Before Lawrence took his leave, a group of Willam's scholars, including himself, Gehrman, Maria, and possibly others, were donned as Bergenworth hunters and took to Fishing Hamlet in search of gaining the insight that was being blessed to the villagers by a great deity, assumingly under Willam's orders. One and possibly a second hunter were able to transcend or evolve beyond their human form to vacuous spiders through the Great Old One cause, but in the greed for blood, the remaining hunters slayed the ocean-dwelling being. In a curse carried out by the villagers, a nightmare world was created to punish hunters who get carried away with bloodlust, or senseless hunting. Hunters with that bloodlust greed, or the Bergenworth spirit, are cursed to suffer there.
But today, the college lies deep within a tangled wood, abandoned and decrepit. And furthermore, the Healing Church has declared Bergenworth forbidden ground. It's unclear how many of its scholars remain alive, but only they know the password that allows passage through the gate.
I'm guessing Bergenworth has been abandoned for approximately 5 decades, so not many other scholars would likely be around besides the choir, who became late scholars of his and deemed Bergenworth forbidden because of the presence of Rom dwelling within Moon Lake. It's obvious Willam and the choir had some close working relationship, considering he ran experiments similar to what they were continuing in the orphanage. Alfred will then end the conversation with his inspiring catchphrase,
"May the good blood guide your way."
After learning the adage, Alfred will then relocate to an unmissable area on the way to the gates to Bergenworth with more insightful dialogue for you, telling you just what his purpose is.
There's something I want to tell you.
Oh!
A bit of wisdom from the eminent master Logarius.
Do tell.
Once, a scholar betrayed his fellows at Bergenworth and brought forbidden blood back with him to Canehurst Castle.
I believe he is referring to Lawrence, as there is plenty of motivation. Willam's first reaction to Lawrence in the memory you see is,
"Oh, I know. You think now to betray me."
No, but you will never listen.
Since Willam had absolutely no support in Lawrence's beliefs about the use of old blood, it's very possible that Lawrence, in his quest to get the old blood's potential recognized and established in society, first went to Canehurst Castle, as it was quite obviously a place of wealth and power in that time.
It was there that the first of the inhuman Vilebloods was born. The Vilebloods are fiendish creatures who threaten the purity of the Church's blood healing.
To Alfred, the Vilebloods deviously misuse the old blood for their own benefit and threaten the use of untainted blood in the Healing Church through blood saints, while, unbeknownst to him, the upper echelons of the Healing Church were perpetuating a different kind of corruption in their experiments. Alfred also alludes to the possibility that it was the Vilebloods that brought their tainted blood to the Healing Church, causing the entire epidemic. Ariana's dress description says it was worn by the nobles of the Vilebloods. Ariana is a surviving noble with the corrupted bloodline. The umbilical cord you get off the baby she births says that she was chosen by the formless Great One Odin for her corrupted blood. She doesn't consume old blood like fake Yosefka or Queen Yarnum possibly did to be willfully chosen.
I knew it. I'm different. I'm no beast. Oh, God, it feels awful. But it proves that I'm chosen.
But rather, Ariana was chosen because the blood already exists in her bloodline. She didn't know what was happening, and certainly didn't want to be a surrogate mother, considering how badly this corrupted blood spread. When the moon presence was beckoned, the females who didn't turn into beasts became surrogate mothers for their respective gods, the Great Old Ones, the source of the old blood. In madness, the Saint Adela will murder Ariana, then try to murder you if you consume too much of Ariana's corrupted blood. This shows just how much true saints despise the corrupted bloodline and those consuming their blood. And the use of blood outside the church is highly forbidden. Why do you think Sister Adela is always keeping an eye on you every time you talk to Ariana? As I said before, jealousy may play a part in it as well.
The ruler of the Vilebloods is still alive today. And so, to honor my master's wishes, I search for the path to Canehurst Castle.
Alfred wants to find the castle to honor his master Logarius. Well, that's a bit vague, so we'll press him more.
In his time, Master Logarius led his executioners into Canehurst Castle to cleanse it of the Vilebloods. But all did not go well, and Master Logarius became a blessed anchor guarding us from evil. Tragic, tragic times. That Master Logarius should be abandoned in the accursed domain of the Vilebloods. I must free him, so that he may be properly honored in martyrdom.
Logarius and his executioners went to Canehurst Castle to rid of all the Vilebloods. As it sounds, they did some major damage, and everyone was killed except for Logarius and the Vileblood Queen. Because of that, the battle is at a standstill, and presumably for a very long time. You can find executioner attire littered around and plenty of corpses suggesting something very calamitous occurred. Now, Logarius guards the Queen of Vileblood's chamber from anyone hoping to visit with her, be they hopeful recruits or established Vilebloods to offer their blood drugs to her. She uses these so that she may one day give birth to a child of blood. No idea how many of these she needs in order to do so. A child of blood could literally entail an impregnation through blood, but it most likely means the birth of an infant great one. Alfred wants to free Logarius, but in order to free Logarius, he would have to put an end to the Queen. I'm assuming there aren't many executioners left. In fact, it's safe to say Alfred and Logarius are the last two of them, considering how quick Alfred is to cooperate with you.
I bid you farewell. It has been a pleasure.
And so it becomes your task to help Alfred find the way to the castle. I hate to do this to you, but that's the end of part 1. This was originally going to be one very long video on both the Executioners and Vilebloods, but because Dark Souls 3 is coming out so soon, I decided to split this up into 2 parts in order to get this out sooner. Part 2 will come within a week, and it will be a good one. So I do hope you'll still be interested in hearing the lore of Martyr Logarius and Queen Annalise, and if so, subscribe and or become a patron, and support my hard work on reviews and Soulsborne lore videos. This all wouldn't be possible if it weren't for my current supporters you see listed here. New patrons will be colored in red after their first donation to welcome them. So welcome Zachary and King. You may also watch my previous Soulsborne lore videos if you so choose, or when it's available, click the annotation to go to part 2. Whatever, man. Click an annotation, any annotation. If annotations are disabled or you're watching mobile, then go find it yourself, bitch.